Alright, buckle up, because tonight we are going deep into something absolutely terrifying that happened right here in my own house last night. I've gone over this footage 100 times, and honestly, the more I look at it, the less sense it makes, and the more freaked out I become. You guys know I set up these security cameras, just standard indoor monitoring, nothing fancy, to keep an eye on things. When I'm asleep, usually they record nothing but the cat knocking over a plant. But last night was different. I was fast asleep, and the house was dead silent. I mean, the kind of silence that feels heavy. Around 3:17 a.m., the camera in the living room just ... activated on its own. No motion trigger, no app interference, nothing. It just turned on. When I reviewed the timeline this morning, that immediate trigger was the first red flag. Why did it start recording right then? The initial seconds of the footage are pitch black, which is normal because I turn all the lights off. But then I noticed it. In the deepest, darkest corner of the room, near the old bookshelf, there was a slight, almost imperceptible movement. It was so subtle I almost missed it. I had to zoom in, and when I did, the hair stood up on the back of my neck. It looked like something was slowly, deliberately breathing. I'm not talking about dust motes or light refraction. This was a clear rhythmic shifting in the shadows. It was too large to be an insect, and it was localized in one spot. It seemed to expand and contract, just barely catching the infrared light of the camera. Whatever it was alive, or at least kinetic, and it was tucked away where I never look. If you watch the timestamp around 3:19 a.m., you can see it clearly. Seriously, pause the video if you need to, and zoom in on that corner. Let me know what you think. That is in the comments below, because I'm drawing a blank on anything rational. But that breathing thing, while creepy, was just the warm-up act. As the footage continued, I started noticing something else. Something that kept invading the frame, flickering in and out on the left side of the screen. A shadow. Now, this room is pretty standard. We've got the sofa, the bookshelf, the TV, and nothing else that sits high enough to cast a significant moving shadow in the middle of the night. Especially not one that dances on the edge of the lens like this. It kept appearing and receding, appearing and receding. It wasn't a solid shape. It was like the edge of a much larger form that was staying just out of view. I spent a good hour trying to recreate the shadow using lamps, flashlights, and even moving furniture, and I simply couldn't. There is no logical light source in that room that would cause that kind of shadow effect on that specific part of the screen. And if you thought the visual was bad, wait until you hear the audio. I usually listen to these clips through my speakers, and initially I heard nothing but static and the usual hum of the house. But when you're dealing with potential paranormal activity, you always grab the headphones, right? So I threw on my noise-canceling set and cranked up the volume on that specific section around 3:25 a.m. when the shadow was most prominent. And that's when I heard it, a faint, almost lost sound, like dry air moving over a rough surface. A whisper. It was so quiet that without headphones, it was completely undetectable. But when I isolated the track and ran it through a basic noise reduction filter, The whisper became clear. It was low, raspy, and definitely human, or at least humanoid. And the words it said, they chilled me to the bone. It said, "Don't look at me. I'm playing the audio for you now. I've looped it 3 times so you can hear it clearly. Don't look at me." Now think about that. Why would something that doesn't want to be looked at be actively turning on a camera designed to record its every movement? It feels like a warning, or maybe a dare. It's definitely engaging, somehow, with the technology I'm using to observe it. This isn't just residual energy. This sounds like intelligent interaction. I rushed downstairs this morning as soon as I saw the alerts. I needed to check the camera itself, and this is where things get truly bizarre, because the physical evidence supports the impossible footage. The recording abruptly stopped at 3:32 a.m. When I went to check the camera at about 8 a.m., the device, which is plastic and doesn't usually generate much heat, was warm. Not hot, but definitely warm to the touch, like it had been running on high power for hours, but it had only recorded for about 15 minutes. I also checked the actual camera placement. I always have this camera aimed squarely at the living room entrance. That's its main job. Monitor the entryway. But when I found it this morning, the lens was facing the exact opposite wall, the wall with the bookshelf, right where that breathing shadow was located. The camera base is stiff. It takes effort to manually pivot it. It doesn't just drift. And I live alone. There is no one else who could have moved this camera. So, let's recap the sequence of events, because every step defies logical explanation. 1. Camera spontaneously activates at 3:17 a.m. in a dead silent house. 2. We see rhythmic, internal movement, the breathing in a dark corner. 3. A shadow appears repeatedly at the frame's edge, impossible to recreate with existing light sources. 4. An isolated audio track reveals a chilling, targeted whisper. "Don't look at me." 5. The recording stops, and the physical camera is found warm and pivoted 180 degrees to face the source of the initial activity. What do you guys make of this? Is this a ghost? Is it something else? A demon? Or is there some kind of electrical fault that happened to cause the most terrifying chain of coincidences ever recorded? Ivy uploaded all the raw footage links in the description below if you want to analyze the timestamps and the audio yourself. I'm honestly debating whether I should keep these cameras running or maybe just move out. This feeling of being watched, and worse, being warned, is driving me crazy. Let me know your theories, if you've experienced anything similar, or if you have any advice on what I should do next. Should I try communicating with this thing? Or should I just smash the camera and pretend none of this ever happened? If you found this footage disturbing, or if you love digging into the unexplained, please hit that like button and subscribe. We'll be back next week with more unsettling content. Unless, of course, this thing decides to turn off all my cameras permanently. Stay safe out there, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to check the links below.